Good morning or good afternoon. Today we will be looking at the guidance for Interim Assessment 1. My goal today is to give you all the information you need to successfully complete the test. So the first thing you should have in front of you is Clever. On Clever, you're going to click Data Link in just a moment. But before you do that, a few quick things. One, you are allowed to listen to music. As you listen to music, you need to set your playlist and go. Two, you can only have two tabs open. Those two tabs are the music and the test you're working on. It is test nav, so it might stop you from being able to change your music. So that's why you need to set your playlist and go. The third thing, and the most important thing, is when you're in test nav, you might not be able to come back to this video. So I want you to watch this video until it says stop and answer questions. You'll go through, answer the questions I tell you, and then you'll exit test nav and you'll come back and continue watching the video for the second part of the assignment. So with all of that in mind, I need you guys to click on Data Link. Then you're going to type in this code here, which is also posted up on the board, into your Data Link. And you're just watching the video for right now. So once you start that code, it's going to pull up TestNav, and it'll look something like this. So there are 13 questions on the two parts of this test total. You're going to be answering the first 11 questions in the first part and the last two questions, which are 5-part questions, in the second half. So for question number 1, you need to match the terms on the left with the definitions on the right. So what they mean is you are clicking and dragging these terms to where they belong. And remember, you can do the same term multiple times. So if you're really not sure which it is, feel free to use things twice. You then have some multiple choice questions to do. As you do the multiple choice questions, make sure to look at the item and make sure to scroll all the way down, because sometimes there are questions down at the bottom. Whenever you see the questions like this, these are short answer questions. The short answer questions, you can write a sentence, a paragraph, whatever you need to make sure that you are fully answering the question. As you are going through this, remember that TestNav has some different tools to help you. You have things like the answer eliminator. Like if you know, oh, it's not that answer, it can be marked by clicking this X. You can also jot some ideas down to yourself as you work. Keeping ideas as you work can go in the notepad. And then you can always return to your pointer. You also have the ability to highlight. Don't forget that. So as we keep going on, you have more multiple choice. Make sure to use your answer eliminator if you need to. More multiple choice. Question 5 is another matching. Same thing as question 1. You can use the same one as many times as you want if you're not sure which is which. Question 6, you have a reading to do. This is a primary source. As you read through this primary source, remember you can highlight. You can, if that helps you. And you're answering a multiple choice using this source. Then again, using this source, answering these multiple choice questions. See the highlighting stays as you keep moving through the questions. Another multiple choice, another multiple choice, a multiple choice using this source, and a short answer, one sentence to a paragraph. Then you have, this one is a tricky one. So for this, you are writing the advantages that allow for the American colony the American Continental Army to win the American Revolutionary War. Then you have to think of, okay, what are the factors that made it difficult for them to win? So for each of these factors, you have to think, is this something that helped them win, or is this something that made it difficult for them to win? So if it's something that helped them win, you mark it as a winning factor. If it's something that made it hard, you mark it as a challenging factor. Once you get to this point, I want you to pause the video, and you're going to start answering questions 1 through 11, our multiple choice questions. Pause now and answer those questions. All right. Welcome to part two. In part two, so hopefully this is a completely different day for you. Your goal is to complete the EBOS portion. This is using those primary sources that we work with so often. And so you have four different primary sources to look at. First, read the introduction. As you read the introduction, you'll see the central question. Hint, hint, the final question, you have to answer this. Should the American Revolutionary War have been avoided? You have to use the following sources to answer that. So you have some background. The background information helps you remember, oh yeah, this is what was going on at the time. Then you have your four sources. Source A, B, C, and D. And for these sources, you're going to use them based off the questions. So for this first page right here, there are no questions. This is just for you to look over the sources. And so if you ever need to read all the sources, you know they're on this page. So let's start moving through the questions. Activity 1, question 12. You have source A in front of you. You can highlight it. And you see that question 1 is asking you, what detail shows the credibility of source A as evidence for why the British government levied the taxes in the Stamp Act? So what detail shows why this is credible or trustworthy? So why would this be a good source of evidence to find out why the British government levied or placed taxes in the Stamp Act? What makes you think, this could be a good source? For question 2, you again have source B and C in front of you. For sources B and C, you have to tell, are they offering similar or different arguments for avoiding the Revolutionary War? So we're trying to find out, should Americans have avoided the Revolutionary War? Are they giving the same kind of arguments, or are they giving different arguments? You are comparing the two. Make sure to give example from the text. For question 3, activity 3 of 5, you are looking at source D. It gives you a statement. The American colonists' rights as English citizens were being taken away in Massachusetts. You have to support this statement with evidence from source D. So what in source D is showing you that the rights of American colonists was being taken away in Massachusetts? For number 4, you have to select one detail from the source information. Oh my gosh, sorry. You have to select one piece of information from source D's source information, and selecting that detail in the source information, you have to tell me why it raises concerns about the source being useful as evidence of the feelings of average Americans during the time period of 1773 to 1775. What in the source information raises concerns? Choose which of the four makes you a little concerned about it. For question 4, you have to then, or question 5, activity 5, I guess, question 4, you have to, for this source, you basically have to look at the detail you said. So if you said detail A, in your next, you have to explain, detail A made me concerned because you have to explain why this detail gives you concern, and be very detailed about what is concerning about it. Try to tell us about, like, what are the problems that can come up from the source being that made in that way. Why would it make it hard for us to understand the average American during this time period? And for the final question, this should be your longest question. It is worth the majority of the points on the test. It is if you fail this question, you fail the test. So you want to take as much time as possible and do all of these things. So the question is, using information provided in sources A through D, all of these sources here that they give you, respond to the question below. The question is, should the American Revolutionary War have been avoided, or was it needed? Develop a claim that responds to this question. So you have to choose a side. When you write your claim, you need to make sure you're clear which side you're on. I'm going to tell you, you want to avoid writing, I think, both, because that's going to be a very hard answer to get full points on. Choose a side. Explain how one source supports your claim. Explain how one source does not support your claim. So if you say it was needed, but one source shows why it wasn't needed, you need to explain why that source says that and why you disagree with it. So maybe there's a lot of sources that agree with your claim, but only one that disagrees. Maybe point that out. You want to use details and examples from the selected sources to support your response. This is the part where you have to use multiple examples. So you pull from multiple sources. If you have one source you want to pull from twice, then do that twice. You want to type your answer down here in the space provided. Please make sure that you are really fully explaining yourself because, again, this is worth the most points. When you are done with this, you are done with the test, and you may look at the board and see what you can do next. Thank you so much for watching this video, and best of